and welcome to MIC TV. Today we're going to be discussing brand creation, working with your fans to create your brand. If you don't know, I'm your host, Greg Ferriola, along with my partner, TJ Peterson. Now, if this is your first time joining us, both TJ and myself would like to welcome you to the MIC community. And if you would, please just say hi in the chat, even if you're watching this on replay. Just say hi, what your name is, where you're from, maybe give some music background or a link to where we might be able to find some of your stuff. Because we definitely will check you out after the broadcast. All right, without any further ado, today we are going to be discussing brand creation, working with fans to create your brand. Now, if you haven't been watching our previous shows, you may be wondering, why is your brand so important? Well, if your goal as a full-time musician is to make a career for yourself that is essentially your dream career, over time, what you're going to need to have is the support of your fans to make it happen. Yet, most artists and bands struggle to get their audience's support, no matter how they promote their releases, live shows, or their merch offerings. And that's because, for your fans to financially support your career, they're going to need to first and foremost care about you as a person and as an artist. This means that one of your early jobs is to form an emotional connection with your audience. And if you've been watching, that's where your brand comes in. Now, your brand essentially represents how you want to portray yourself as an artist to your audience. And bad branding or no branding will make you essentially seem distant and maybe not relatable, which will make the entire process of connecting with your artist more difficult. Whereas if you have good branding, it's going to give a clear vision for who you are and allows your audience to see themselves in you. Because at the end of the day, the people that we connect with have similar traits that we could connect with. Because you're not going to be connecting with and friends with people that are completely the opposite from you. You might, but for the most part, you're really good friends. You're going to share things in common with. So the question is that how do you go through the process of developing a brand that draws your audience in and makes them want to support your career? Well, if you watch our episode last week, the technique that we have developed is called your signature sales story. And we are going to give you a quick review on it just so that we're all on the same page before we dive into today's discussion. So here we go with the presentation recap. So what is a signature sales story and why is it important? Well, a signature sales story is simply a narrative that communicates your brand to your audience by highlighting specific emotional hooks that you feel are going to resonate with your fans. So just like a song has a musical hook, your signature sales story has an emotional hook that will directly relate to a theme that you want to highlight from the values and beliefs that you as a person are most passionate about. And the purpose behind this is to make you relatable so you can form a connection with your audience and turn potential fans into actual fans. And when that bond between you and them becomes strong enough, someone that is an actual fan of you and your music will eventually become a financial supporter when presented with the right product or event. So, how do you create a signature sales story? Well, the first step in creating your signature sales story is to create your brand. And again, we'd like to think of a musician's brand as a detailed description of how you want to portray yourself as an artist to your fans. And it covers music-related items like why you want to be a musician, your genre, your goals, and your definition of reaching success. But it also covers personal things about you, like your interests, beliefs, experiences, values, and characteristics. Now, what this means is to create your brand and your public image, you're going to need to do some self-examination so you can choose the personal and musical themes you'll use to attract and connect with fans. Now, again, we as business coaches have exercises to help you out throughout this process, but we're going to go over just a few of those steps so you kind of get the gist of how to develop a brand. Now, the first thing that you want to do is, sit down and maybe do some creative writing exercises and describe your personal background. And again, you just kind of want to go through this process in the sense of, writing all this stuff down, kind of, digging through your memories and, really kind of explaining who you are. So that way, when it comes time for you to do that with your audience, you'll kind of have it fresh in your brain and be able to kind of do that in a really positive and powerful, descriptive way. So when you kind of go through this writing process, you want to start by listing basic things like where you grew up and details about your family. And if you're in a band, you want to describe maybe each band member, your relationship with one another, and how you met. And then you want to write all these things down, and then you want to continue and think about things like what interests you and what you're passionate about. Also things like what are your experiences that you've had in your life that maybe have defined you as a person. And also what things do you believe in and what do you stand for? Additionally, what's your personality like and what are the characteristics that make up who you are as a person? So, last week we gave the example, like if you suffered from childhood depression as, again, as a child, or you lost your parents at a young age, served in the military or grew up poor, these are all things that are going to make you relatable to other people that will be in your audience. So they are things that you should consider including them in your brand. Doesn't mean you have to, it just means you should consider it because, again, you want to pick as an artist, I am, this part of my life really defines me and has made me the person that I am. And I want to let my fans know about this because I want to connect with other people that have gone through this or share this experience or, have this belief. So once you go through that process, the second thing you want to do is describe your music background. After all, you're a musician, so your music background is important. So you want to specify, who you are as an artist and your background from a music perspective. You want to describe why you love music and want to be a full-time musician. Also, who are your musical influences and what type of music do you actually play? And also, what are the experiences that you're trying to provide to fans when they listen to your music and attend shows? And this is an important part or important point to make because most artists just think of their career from their perspective and that direction and don't really think about it from the other point of view of how do I want my fans to interpret or see this. So you really want to sit down and think about that as well. Also, another main thing you want to think about is how are you unique or what stands out about you as an artist. Now, if you have done any research online or have been a musician for a while, this is going to be what is described as your niche. Now, when describing your niche, you don't want to get hung up on trying to figure out how to be completely different from other artists. When I was going through my early music career and everything, and someone talked about your niche, I racked my brains to try to figure out, oh my God, how am I going to be completely different? Everything has been done before. But it's really not about being different. It's just about figuring out how you as an artist want to stand out. Now, to kind of give a really solid example of what we mean by that, if you're familiar with the artist Johnny Cash, he was known as the Man in Black. Now, that's what stood out about him. Dressing in black, however, isn't really something that is unique. A lot of people dress in black. But when people think about him, the Man in Black, it's just something that really stood out about who he was. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to think about. Also, when describing your music background, remember, it's going to be important that you're genuine and passionate. So whenever you have the opportunity and you're using, whatever you've created to connect with your audience, you want to add emotion to that description. Okay, so then the next thing you want to do while developing your brand is you want to define your dream. You want to let people know what are your long-term goals as an artist, explain to them what success means to you, why your goals matter and excite you. Also, let them know some of the main obstacles that might be standing in your way from reaching your success, and explain to them why you need their support. I mean, people are going to obviously be interested in your music and what you're doing, but that's only part of it. To really hook them and keep them engaged with what you're doing, you need to add a little bit of a descriptive story behind it and give them a reason for why they should be following you day in and day out and supporting you through all your experiences as an artist. And you also maybe want to let them know as well if you've had, throughout your career, any awards or honors or accomplishments that you had. And the reason why you want to do that is you want to let them know that you are an artist or band worth following. If someone discovers you has interest and they feel they have things in common with you, but get the impression that you're really not serious about your career, or maybe haven't, really done anything or are currently doing anything, that might turn them off because, again, you want to invest your time and energy into someone that's going somewhere and actually very active. So just kind of keep that in mind when kind of going through that descriptive process. Now, the fourth step in creating your brand is developing and designing your brand identity. Now, this is the part of someone's brand that everybody really is familiar with, because your brand identity are the visual elements of your brand, such as your color scheme, your font, your clothing, and your logo, but also includes other components like your artist and band name and the tone you use when speaking to your audience. Now, when you're designing your visual aspects of your brand identity, your goal is to express yourself without words. For example, if you're a gothic band that writes dark, depressing music, then you're probably not going to select pink or yellow or something like that as your primary color. You're going to use black or some other dark color tones. Now, once you've completed all those steps, the next thing you need to do is to get feedback from your audience by discovering what we call your brand image. Now, your brand image is how others see you. Now, this is important because how you see yourself isn't always necessarily the way that others see you. So you want to spend some time getting input from your family, friends, or fans and ask if there are specific things about you that stand out or that they connect with. So you want to find out if the current version of your brand essentially resonates with the people you show it to. And once you receive enough input and feedback, then you're going to decide if you're going to wind up changing your brand or updating it by incorporating what you've learned so that it's more in line with how others see you. And what this is called is brand alignment. And brand alignment is something that you're going to do on a continual basis, because you're always, as an artist, going to be ever evolving, and as will your audience. So you want to check in, especially as you grow and you have more people in your audience, that you're continuing to stay in line with the way that they see you. Now, there are some amazing artists throughout history that have not only branded themselves once, but every single time they come out with a new album, completely different image, completely whatever. And we're talking like artists like David Bowie, Madonna. I mean, these are people that are just really solid at doing that and staying relevant, because they know that they need to change with the times and their music needs to evolve with the times, but also their look and their image needs to evolve with the times as well. So as an artist, if you plan on having a long-term career, this is something that you're really going to need to continually work on until you have it kind of down as a science. And the best way to do that is with fan help. Now we're going to dive into this last part of brand alignment a little bit further, because again, today's topic is we're discussing how to develop your brand with your fans' help. All right, so that's enough of the presentation aspect. Now let me just get back over to my notes here. All right, so whether you're going to be creating your brand, writing a song, designing merchandise, you always want to include your fans and audience in the creation process. Now, why do you want to do that for? Well, getting fan feedback allows you to receive different points of view so that you can make informed business decisions and creative decisions based on what your fans actually think versus simply making your best guess. Now, this is important because having information allows you to save you potentially time from investing your energy into the wrong project. And it can also save you money. If you just kind of live in your own bubble and world and you don't communicate with people, and growing up, when I saw my favorite artists like the Beatles or Radiohead, that was kind of the communication. Like, it was, you're an artist, you're creative, you do your thing, you make your artistic vision, and then you release it to your audience and hopefully that they're interested and they like it. And really successful artists can do that on a regular basis. And there were some artists that just would maybe release their first album, it'd be big, and then the next album, it would flop. But you as an independent artist really don't have the luxury of making those kind of career-ending mistakes. So what you want to really do is keep your fans in the loop in your creative process in your daily life. So when you do have to make business decisions or career decisions for yourself, you're using not just what you think, but as much informed information that you can get from your audience as possible. And that's important because, again, the people that you're trying to please the most are your audience members and diehard fans. Now, the second benefit of working with fans is the things that you create will be, again, more in line with what your audience wants and will actually buy. And the third thing that we always like to kind of stress too is that including your fans in the creation process allows them to feel like they're actually involved in your career, which will make them more emotionally invested in everything you do. Always remember that like not everybody has the talent to be a musician. Yet even untalented people would, a lot of them want to be able to do that for a living. So the closest some of these people might ever get is experiencing, a music career through your own personal career. So including them in the process is something that allows them to, feel like they're part of that journey without having to go through the actual process. So keep that in mind again when communicating and getting, fan feedback and including them in your career. It's an important way to kind of again seal a bond between you and your audience. Now, when it comes to getting feedback, there are a few different techniques you can use. And if you feel comfortable, the first thing that you can do is, ask people for feedback via social media. Some people feel comfortable with this, some people don't. It really kind of depends on the topic that you're trying to share. If it's something really personal, like a lyric that you wrote, or something that you really kind of want to get, distinct feedback on, you might not feel so comfortable doing that. But, random things of like, hey, what's my set list for tonight? That might be something you feel better about sharing. Other things that you can do to get feedback from your fans is you can run polls. We see a lot of artists do this online through their stories, or even sometimes, actually giving like an actual, like, 3-step question checklist of just like, hey, what should I wear tonight for my show? This or this? What's the next cover song you guys want me to release? This or this? And they have them vote on it. Again, these are all ways to kind of keep audiences engaged with your career, but also get genuine feedback that will help you make decisions that will be more in line with your audience. Now, the thing that we recommend the most, where all those things are important, especially when it comes to developing your brand, what we recommend is that you handpick several people, like your super fans, maybe your fellow musicians, family members, etc., that know you really well and that you trust, will give you honest and detailed feedback and make them kind of part of your advisory circle. And again, the number one area this should be used in is when developing your brand. Why? Because your brand is all about forming your connection with your audience. So getting your fans and audiences and families, feedback is crucial to this process, because you need to develop something that is completely in line with how they see you and what they want to see from you. Because when random strangers stumble across your music and your online channels, you want that vision that has connected you with the current people in your audience and inner circle to be, very clearly communicated to these new people that are just getting exposed to you. And by the way, if you need help with developing this, because we know that's difficult, we do offer a step-by-step process through our signature sales story. And if you want to find out more information, just message us through Facebook or any of our channels, and we will, help you out with that. Now, after you have maybe created your group of fan advisors, you want to first begin when it comes to the brand development process by getting their feedback on your brand identity and the visual aspects of your brand, as like we talked about in the PowerPoint presentation. So this will include things like your artist and band name if you're early on in your career, your logo, your brand colors, the fonts, your wardrobe, basically anything that people can actually visually see. And the best place to test all this out will be on your website, because your website is going to be the cornerstone of your online channels and where all the other channels that you have online will point when driving your traffic. And that's so, again, it's part of your customer funnel. It's so you can have the opportunity to collect your fans and audiences' detailed contact information. So you want to be working and developing that and send your fan advisor support there so they can see this is how I'm going to show my brand off and who I am as an artist. Now, when we first started doing MIC, we asked some of our musician friends to take our program and work with us to help develop it, because we wanted to create something that they would actually use and made them happy and they felt good about, just like we're talking about right now with the brand. But the other thing too was we wanted to really kind of learn all the things that they felt were obstacles and things that were difficult. So when we were kind of going through that process, we were helping them with things like building their website and whatnot, and they would share their current stuff. And a lot of them, when I would look at their brand, I'd be like, that's so-and-so? It doesn't even look like them, or how they normally dress, or they look really serious. All the time when I see them, though, they're actually smiling and happy and very outgoing. And this kind of makes them look a little bit not like that. So you want to really kind of consider, getting the feedback, because it really does make a difference. Because, when you are an artist and you're out there, becoming an artist and musician or being in a band does come with a certain amount of insecurities. A lot of people have them. So, when you comes time to portray yourself as an artist, you want to, some artists choose to try to portray themselves as who they want to be or how they want others to see them, which is fine. But if you skew too far away from who you actually are, that's not necessarily a good thing. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So when you basically have your website set up and you kind of go through that first pass of like getting your front page done, creating your bio and all that kind of stuff, you want to talk to your fan advisors and send them to the site. Get them to look at everything, read everything, and give you their feedback. Now, your goal in doing this isn't to try to make every single person happy, because you can't do that. You can't market yourself to everybody. You simply want to listen to everyone that you have asked to help you, and then you, as a entrepreneur and business owner, make a decision on what feedback you agree with and are actually going to listen to. And once you make that decision, then what you want to do is sit down and make any updates on your website to your brand, your bio, whatever else you've created on there, and then have them look at it again. And you want to keep doing it until everyone that you are asking kind of seems like, okay, this is seems like you, and you're happy with it, and they're happy with it as well. Now, when you're done, the purpose here is to be able to design something, especially like on your website, that when someone visits it, they can get a very clear picture about what kind of artist you are. So when they see it, it's like, oh yeah, I know what they're all about. When I go to one of their shows, it's gonna be fun and a blast, and like they look like they're having a great time. Or I'm gonna get some really in-depth, heart-torturing things. It looks like they're very into relationships or whatever. So you just kind of want to really be descriptive and come up with something that really helps and resonates and lets people know what you're all about. Now, the next thing after you kind of work on your visual elements on your website, you want to also examine the emotional hooks or themes from your brand. Now, which themes are you going to again use that will help you stand out as a musician, and let people know what your beliefs and interests are. Now, this will be a bit more difficult because again, you're going to have to dig deep and do some self-examinations into your background, and discover the emotional themes and the musical themes that you want to use to as like emotional hooks with your fans and your audiences. Now, when you go through this process, really take some time and think. It might, when we did this for MIC, I spent a few days kind of going through it and thinking about my time as a musician, our time working as business coaches, and the journey that took and all the emotional ups and downs. And I just wrote it all down. And did I use everything from that to develop our brand? Absolutely not. But I pulled stuff from that I felt that were relevant, and many stories that I would use to kind of make points to our members and things of that nature. So you really kind of want to go through it and take some time and really find out what in your heart you want to use, and basically essentially what you want your career to stand for. And once you have an idea of what those things are, you want to include them again in your things like your bio and on social and in your social media posts and things of that nature, because again, those are going to be the things that connect with people. Now, again, anytime you put anything anywhere, whether again it's on your website to your fan advisory board, or once you start developing your social media channels, you do want to get fan feedback. And if it's somewhere public, again, like your social media channels, ask or something, hey, this is my new such and such. What do you guys think? Or I'm going to choose between this, cover photo on my Facebook page or this one. Which one do you think? Whatever. Like, you just want to make sure that you're kind of going through that process. And always, always, always try to be as personal as you can. You don't have to necessarily show, what you're having for breakfast, or go, into really personal, deep-seated stuff that you don't want to share with the public. But there are, I'm sure, some things in your life that you would feel comfortable sharing, whether that's your favorite sports team, or the fact that you love cooking, or maybe that you're, all about your animal, your pet, at some point in time. So just think about what things you might, be interested in sharing. Now, if you have trouble doing this, because some people, again, self-examination, sometimes it's not all that clear. There's no blueprint for, self-examining yourself. And also going through the process of selecting the themes that you want to use. So one thing that we would recommend to artists that are going to go through this process is to sit down and write a list of your best friends in your life, or the people that you're closest to. And then next to each friend, write down the topics or things that you normally discuss with them, as well as the activities that you like doing together. Chances are these are going to be some of the same things that you're going to have in common with your audience. And that might also, again, really help you when selecting your main themes. Because, again, if you like doing these specific activities with your best friends and people you're close with, and you talk about these things on a regular basis with, your friends and family or whoever, chances are, again, they're probably really important in your life, and your fans will also connect with that as well. All right. The last point we want to make here before we move on to the Q&A is that brand building is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's going to be something that will take time to develop, and something that will, be ever evolving throughout the course of your career. But if you really kind of do the work and take the time to listen to your fans and, seriously take into consideration their feedback and include that in the brand that you develop, over time, as you continue to market your music and events and everything that you're doing in your career, it will have an impact on your audience. So just take the time to do it. And again, this process that you're doing will start from scratch every single time a new fan discovers you and your music. So it's important that you do have this system in place so that all the hard work that you go into creating your music isn't wasted because you didn't take the time to develop a brand that will help you actually connect with fans, so that the work that you do matters. Good one. And I know, I think when it comes to the branding aspect, for us as business coaches, that was a big turning point in our development of our business, was when we learned the importance of branding, and because there was this disconnect of how do you get people to care about the work that you do? And we sat down with marketing consultants and explained this entire process. And it was really interesting to learn, and had a big impact for us. So we immediately sat down and started working on developing a way to make that a connection for our members.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of artists get kind of leery of this kind of talk because it seems kind of inauthentic. They think that they're kind of falsifying who they are for the sake of profit or anything like that. But really, it's just about being conscious about the message you're putting forward. We're kind of elevating the truth that is you, trying to tell you to tell your story, but do it in a way that's just more thoughtful from a planning standpoint, where you're making sure that that message is coming across effectively. There's nothing. Yeah, it's just it's so important, but it just takes a little kind of planning and thinking critically about your messaging and who your audience is and how they're getting your information, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's a really great point, because again, how you see yourself isn't necessarily how others see you. So you might be putting something online, and to you it's just well, yeah, that says everything I want to say. But if people don't know your backstory or anything about you, that it might not really convey as clearly to them as it does to you or someone maybe that knows you directly. So it really is important to be overly clear about what the message that you're trying to convey, and make it so it's so simple that people get it. And it's a talent that takes some time to develop.
And recognizing that it needs to be done in a captivating way. I mean, a lot of people will put their bio on their website and they'll speak in the third person and say their whole story and their whole, their basically their resume, not even their story, but their resume, just like grew up here, did this, play this kind of music. It's just not interesting. I mean, you need to make it personal. You need to make it emotional. You need to make it a story. So, we tell people for that example, for a bio, everyone should write in the first person, because you want to feel like you're connecting with your audience. You don't want them to feel like someone else is running that website. If they reach out to the contact on your website, that you would be reading that. You want to let people know that, people think it's so professional to speak like, you have some publicist writing about you, but really it's more important that you connect with your audience on a personal level than to seem professional, to look professional. So so you need to tell that story, but you need to do it in a way that's captivating and can hold attention. And that story is worth something, and people care. But if you just kind of lay it out like a bullet pointed resume, it's not going to do the job. So at the end of
Yeah.
the day, it's all emotion. You need to tell your story in a way that is entertaining, just like your music entertains them.
Yeah, and giving fans a reason why they should care about you and your career, because that's a big part of what we covered last week. So like if you say, hey, my name is so and so, and I'm an indie blah blah plays rock music. I love so and so, so and so, and so and so, and my goal is to do this, why, and this. That's interesting. It lets them know what you're doing. But if you reverse it and thought about it from your audience's point of view, hi, my name is so and so, and I play this kind of music. And my shows are designed to make fans feel blah, 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 and so that they can have a good time, relax, and whatever. Now, the difference between those two things is, one, you're communicating exactly the way you see yourself and want people to kind of view you. The second one, you're explaining to people why it matters to them and what kind of experience they're going to get when they come to see you perform and whatnot. And the second thing is way more effective because, again, once you decide to have a music career, you are starting a business, and businesses sell things. And what you're selling is you and the experience of your career. So when you are talking about your releases and your shows and everything else, let people know why they should care. Is it a personal story behind in your background that made you do this, and the reason and the impact that you want whatever it is that you're doing, whether it be again a release or a show that you're putting on, the impact that you want the audience to feel and to have, and give them a reason to do it. It could be just something as simple as, hey, I'm performing this show, blah, 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 blah. And it's, part of it is to, do charity work for this cause I'm passionate about. And 50% of all proceeds are going to go to this blah, blah, blah charity. Now that's something simple, but if your fans say, hey, I'm into that charity, it could give them an extra reason to show up and do something, on your behalf, because you've given them an additional reason to not only support your career that is your music and you, but also something that they're passionate about. So you really do want to put yourselves into your audience's shoes and try to communicate what you're trying to do in a way that will, really kind of speak to them.
But I did want, yeah. So I just as a final takeaway, like think of branding as more just being thoughtful about your communication and making sure your brand is relevant in all of that communication. So you're not wasting breath. You're always pushing a narrative forward. You're always trying to connect on an emotional level. And branding is just being thoughtful about that and packaging it in a way that can be presented, rather than, don't think of it as, your colors or your image or whatever. It's just about communicating effectively and with a singular purpose.
All right. Well, that's going to be our show for today. So everyone, have a great day. Enjoy your Wednesday. And remember that we are always here to help you if you are in need of it. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in creating a professional brand that's going to help you to transform your casual followers into financial supporters, then I invite you to take our free brand creation program that we call your Signature Sales Story. You can find the link for it in the description below. And please don't forget to subscribe. Your support really matters and helps us a lot. Have a great day.